8 minutes ago. Yeah.
Oh man, bummer. This is not.
Okay, we
What
are.
caused the initial
Oh,
problem?
oh, we have something saying upcoming now.
Oh, nice.
Oh, and we're live. Okay,
We're
so
live? Are we live on the right stream? We're not sure.
let's
Oh
see.
yeah, yeah, there it is.
I think we're live.
We're
Nice.
Finally.
live?
Okay.
I believe it's a different stream than the one we created, so apologies
It's
to anyone
it's
who's.
unclear. Yeah, I guess it
Oh,
is.
okay,
I
yeah,
don't know.
yeah. People are commenting, saying hello again. They see us now. They see us.
Okay, great, great. All
So
right.
Nick
Well,
is in.
hey
This is all
everybody.
confusing because
We
oh,
had
go ahead.
weird technical issues trying to start this live stream, so sorry about that. Starting not that 4 minutes. That's not too bad.
I'm sure we've been
And
later
we've
before.
got Nick somewhere in the North Pole, I think, joining us with his winter hat on out in the car. His family wouldn't let him do this from the room.
For
I thought
some
this was. I
reason, they
thought you
did.
were in Bora Bora, Nick. Why
You
isn't
know,
it?
I was. I got this crazy idea to leave there and go to northern Finland. But if you like that, don't forget to like this video wherever you're
Mm.
watching or listening. Give us a thumbs up, leave us some feedback. We always appreciate that. Yeah. So to address the elephant in the room, so to speak, I have. Yes, a warm hat. I'm sitting in the car and I'm in Rovaniemi, Finland. So I'm at the Arctic Circle. It's not as cold as you might think, but it's not as warm as Bora Bora. So luckily, I have this like almost like electric blanket, this heated jacket that has a
Oh
battery
wow.
pack. So I feel really toasty and warm for the most part. My nose might freeze off by the time we're done with this. We'll see.
You do look
Does
pretty
your
cold.
stocking hat say something?
It probably on I know on the yeah it says
Says
Lapland because I bought this
oh.
in Rovaniemi a few years ago. It looks ridiculous, but it's really warm. So this is the hat you want on if you're going to sit in the car at 4 o'clock in the morning and do a live stream.
Sorry, Nick, but you're not winning the "It Looks Ridiculous" hat contest tonight.
Well, that is true. That is true because
Don't
one
talk
of
about
us.
Stephen Pepper like that. He's not even wearing a hat, Greg.
So
Yeah.
for those who are listening instead of watching, who wins today's ridiculous hat contest and why?
Yeah.
All right. So before we get started with actual questions from the audience, what we wanted to do today was go around the room and ask everyone of on the frequent miler team what was their favorite flight that they took with points and miles this past year in 2025, and we'll start with Nick.
Okay, I was hoping for sure you were going to start with Tim on that one. My my favorite flight that I took so far this year with points and miles, I think I love a great deal, and so I had booked Air France business class to Europe for 48,500 miles per passenger for 8 people, about a year in advance almost, and so I was super happy with that. That was a terrific deal. So that might be my favorite in terms of value, and it got a little better yet because my wife's headset didn't work and for whatever reason, it was making like a popping sound, and they tried to switch it out. She had asked because she wanted to watch something, and they were super friendly about it and couldn't get it to work. And so they said they'd give her some miles, and lo and behold, they gave her 44,000 miles, and the flight only had cost me 48,500. So that instantly made it my favorite flight of the year, even though unfortunately for her, she couldn't listen to anything, but she went to sleep instead. We were flying to Europe, so that worked out pretty well. So I think that's my pick for favorite flight this year.
That works.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
All
That's a good
right,
one.
Tim, you might want to explain your hat, but also tell us about your favorite
It's a
flight of the
holiday
year.
Seahawk is what it is. This comes out every time it does. Unlike most birds that fly south for the winter, this bird flies north for the winter and ends up on both mine and my wife's head around this time of year. Um, so my favorite flight, it was funny. The first thing, and this is, I'm going to get a lot of like, um, oh, come on, from people, but um, just because it was such a novelty to me during the challenge, our 100K vacay challenge back in October. I have always wanted to fly a daytime flight to Europe. Um, I I sleep like crap on planes. And so that's part of the reason why business class, lie flat business class is a savior for me. But even then, like flying from the East Coast to Europe, the flights are so short. They're like, 6 to 7 hours, depending on where you leave from and what the, prevailing winds are doing, that even in a lie flat business class, by the time you get there, get on the plane takes off, you may have something to eat, you go to sleep, then you have to wake up. It's like 3 or 4 hours, right? I mean, really in between. So I've always wondered, like, what would it be like to actually leave East Coast in the morning, get to Europe in the evening, do some things, and then go to sleep like a normal person. So this year, I got a redemption where I spent, it was right around 40, it was 4,650, or it was 6,000 Virgin Atlantic miles plus $75 to fly Virgin Atlantic economy from JFK to London Heathrow, or Heathrow, pardon me. That's another one we get some cons. Um, and man, I loved it. And part of the deal is I had gone up, I went up to the desk beforehand, or to the gate agent beforehand, and I said, "Hey, is there any way I could get up, or get put into an exit row or something like that?" And she put me in this class that I didn't even know existed on Virgin called Economy Delight. She didn't charge me for it. It actually ended up being a little more legroom, and I had Reyes Business Class, or actually I had Reyes Economy Delight, which meant that I had the entire row of Economy Delight for me. It was delightful. And it was just awesome to like land at London. The plane was a little earlier, landed at London around 7 o'clock at night, got to my hotel around 8:15, went out, got some dinner, walked around for a little while, and it's like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. I'm ready to sleep. Um, that was it wasn't so much my favorite use of points so much as it was such a great experience. And I will say I got it on a transfer bonus, so it ended up costing me around 4,600 city points and $75. What a great deal to get to
Yeah.
Europe and not be tired, you
Yeah.
know?
I was gonna
Um,
ask Steven to go next, but I'm gonna go next because it's related to what Tim just said. Because my favorite flight of the year was a daytime flight to London. Uh, now, number of points was the opposite end of the spectrum from what Tim did. My wife and I flew from Boston to London on British Airways first class.
oh,
And that was a daytime flight. I used 100,000 Cathay Pacific Asia miles to do it. Now, you could use a lot of other points for less than 100,000 miles to fly British Airways first class on that route. Um, but usually you'll be paying 700, 800, $1,000 in fees, depending on which program you book with. But when you book with Cathay, flights from the East Coast, they have very low fees. So it was around $200, if I remember right,
nice.
in fees each. And, just like Tim said, the experience of flying during the day, getting there at night, and even though it's early, it's not that late when you go to bed there. Like it's not that late US East Coast time. Um, at least for that flight, we had to get up so early for that flight that we were dead tired and able to adjust right to UK time, immediately. And so that combination plus the really terrific service on British Airways first class it was just really delightful. It was just, yeah, it made
Mm.
my top list for the year.
It wasn't economy delight, but it was delightful.
It was first class delight. All right, let's do Stephen and then Carrie.
Yeah.
So most of my flights this year have been in economy between the US and Europe. So I've done Virgin Atlantic, United, Delta, um, British Airways. I think might have done. Oh no, American we actually did in business class, but I think my favorite flight was on SAS, and the experience was perfectly fine. I flew in business class from the US to Copenhagen, and that was just 50,000 SAS miles per person. And the experience was decent. Like, it's a nice enough business class. It won't blow you away, but it's also not a terrible time either. But I just really loved it, A, because it was a chance to use the some of the million miles that we earned during the Million Mile Madness Challenge last year. Plus, we were heading to Copenhagen, where we got to go on a behind-the-scenes tour of Thomas Stambo, who's the guy who creates all of those wooden trolls that we like all around the world. So, yeah, that was my favorite flight.
Nice.
That sounds good.
My favorite flight was the premium economy, lower class. What do they call it in Virgin Atlantic?
I think it's just premium class, something
They
like
had
that.
some kind of goofy way of making you feel not quite as posh as the upper classes. But it was really enjoyable. I mean, I obviously liked this was for the Malta trip that I got to join Greg on, and I obviously liked the Air Serbia business class because it was lie flat. But the Virgin Atlantic premium economy surprised me the most because I just, I hear premium economy and I think economy. That's the word I focused on. But to me, it felt like business class. Um, I mean, it was great. The service was great. Tons of space. I mean, I would guess that Tim wouldn't feel quite that same effect as I did, but yeah, it was really nice. I thought it was great.
Yeah, and that was, of course, coming back from London to the US. So it was another daytime flight, which almost all the flights in that direction are daytime. And so the fact that it's not lie flat didn't really matter that much. So we got to enjoy, comfortable seats and what felt like business class service
Yeah.
and dining. So that was really nice.
Yeah, and a snack cart. There was like a snack zone. I don't know. Everything
That's
was
right.
everything was like, better than expected, which is sometimes better than even better as expected. But anyway, yeah, it was nice.
I have a quick question for Greg. So, Greg, here's my question for you is now that you've flown daytime, if you
hmm
had to fly Boston or New York to London again,
hmm
would you choose a daytime premium economy or economy flight? Or would you choose an overnight business class flight?
Oh, if those were my only options, like
Those are your only
I couldn't
options.
get
You
business class.
can't get business class on the daytime.
Um, hmm. I don't know. I'll have to get back to you on that one.
Okay. You can
I think I
contemplate.
would do premium economy. I don't know if I would do regular economy.
Hmm. All right. Unless there's more you wanted to discuss on that, we've got a lot of good questions coming in already.
Good.
So I'm gonna jump in here with our first listener question. What's the FM team's thoughts on the ink train derailing? It seems like the so valuable pool to earn our sweet Hyatt points is drying up. So I'm gonna start with you, Greg. What do you think?
Yeah. So what they're referring to is until recently, it was possible to sign up for Chase Ink cards over and over many times and keep getting the welcome offers. And so there were a number of people who did that regularly as a way to earn tons of points. So yeah, it's unfortunate, but I don't know. To me, like this is just one of so many things that in this game thing, opportunities come and we take advantage of them while we can, and then they go away. But meanwhile, other opportunities pop up, and that's been happening for as long as I can remember in this game. And so to me, it's just another one. It's not um, materially different than other ones that we've faced. But I can certainly understand if that's been your primary way of earning points and redeeming points, that would be a huge blow.
Yeah. All right, Nick, this next one is for you. There's a lot of good Bonvoy'ed options this week. Capital One, Emirates, Turkish, and British Airways. Rank them from least worst to worst.
Least
Well,
worst to worst.
Least worst is easy for me because I vaguely remember something going on with British Airways, but I don't know what it is. So that's going to be least worst for me right now. Somebody else is going to have to chime in on that. So the others that were mentioned here were the Turkish, United devaluation, and Capital One transfers to Emirates. And so Capital One transfers to Emirates getting devalued isn't hugely important to me since there aren't very many great uses of Emirates miles anyway. The only reason that it bothers me personally is because we've got like 200,000 Emirates miles stranded in my wife's account, and at some point we're going to have to top those off, and so to redeem for something, and so now I have something in mind where I think maybe we'll be able to use them before that because I think that doesn't drop for a while yet. One of you guys maybe can tell me exactly when that is. Do you know when
January
that
The
26th,
changes?
I think.
January 26th. So I've got
Right.
a
End of January.
yeah, I got more than a month to figure that out. So I'll top that off. What I think I'll do with my Emirates miles for anybody interested is uh not a fantastic use, but I don't want to pay the surcharges to fly on Emirates. They also partner with Condor, and Condor releases a really decent amount of award space between the US and Europe. And so while you could book that quite reasonably with Alaska miles, like for instance, Frankfurt to New York is 55,000 Alaska miles, or New York to Frankfurt, either way. With Emirates, it's 77,000 and change, so I wouldn't be transferring for that, especially if you've got Alaska miles to use. But since I already have 204,000 Emirates miles or something, I'll transfer over enough for 3 seats and then book a fourth seat through Alaska, probably is my intention. So that's not terrible to me. And then you got United and Turkish, and so now United flights cost more Turkish miles theoretically if you can get the website to show availability or find somebody who can book it for you and you can actually pay for it, then you'll pay more miles. But all of those ifs already made it pretty hard. So that's going to be, I think, the worst of the bunch, because if you had the sort of the fortitude to deal with that to handle all that, then it's a bummer that the price has gone up. But it's also one of the more difficult things to book in the points and miles space, so I think it's unlikely to affect a lot of people. It's similar to the Capital One Emirates thing. Now, I don't know what happened with British Airways, so that's the best answer you're going to get out of me in terms of ranking them, I think.
Yeah,
All
with
right.
British Airways, the details are limited at the moment. Basically, on their website, they gave a few examples of award pricing that's going to go up, but I don't think that they've released a full list of what the pricing is going to be. So, for example, at the moment, if you like a one-way flight from between the US and the UK from the East Coast is 25,000 Avios. That's going to be going up to, I think, 27,500. So it's basically an increase of 10% on that particular route. Um, for the taxes and fees, it had been, I think, £100. I forget what it was, the dollar equivalent. But that's going to be going up by an extra £20. So that's an increase of 20% in taxes and fees. Again, not a crazy amount, but part of that is also due to the air passenger duty going up in the UK. So some of that's just unavoidable in the first place. So it's weird because overall, as devaluations go, it's not all that bad, and I'd probably rank it at the bottom of these, but for like objectively, but for me personally, it's going to suck a little bit more because I'm starting to use British Airways Aviosa more and
Mm,
more at the moment, like being in the UK. So um, that does mean that things are going to get a little bit more expensive going forward.
So
Or you're
you
going to
might
have
rank that
to
one.
get using your Cathay Pacific Asia miles.
Hmm.
All right. All right. So Tim, this next one is for you. Do you have any insight on United Business Partner Awards between US and Europe? I'm attempting to book via Aeroplan, but availability seems to have vanished.
That is a very, very common complaint.
Hmm.
United is notorious for releasing, pardon me, very few partner awards in general, let alone business class partner awards on high traffic routes. That's been happening for a couple of years now. And I'm not sure if if you saw availability versus Aeroplan and now are not.
Hmm.
But United and Aeroplan went through a change this year in their partnership where Aeroplan is now effectively, my understanding, I haven't tried to book any United awards through Aeroplan, but is effectively pricing them dynamically. And so you'll see instead of having a fixed price for United Awards, they now can range. They have a starting at price, if I remember correctly. That was supposed to give more availability between or for United Awards through Aeroplan because of that dynamic pricing. I haven't actually checked to look and see if it was. But all that to say, it wouldn't be surprising at all if United was still fairly stingy on that availability through Aeroplan, just because they've been doing that for a long time now. So you're not alone. United Awards through partner programs is just difficult, and I don't know outside of getting some sort of one of the award search tools to let you know when they're available. I don't know of any kind of magic method to find those things. They're difficult to find.
Set up alerts. All right, Stephen, this next one is for you. How the heck do I know what's actually going to earn rewards with the new Sapphire card? Does Chase give MCC codes?
So MCC is merchant category code. So it's a particular code that relates to a specific type of purchase category. So I don't think Chase necessarily gives specific merchant category codes for their categories. However, if you Google Chase rewards categories, then you should end up coming across a page where the end of the URL is rewards category FAQ. And then on that page, it has a list of basically every single category that's bonused on any kind of Chase cards. And so you can have a look on there and it will give you a detailed description as to what is included. So it's not the specific MCCs, but it will give you a much better idea as to what's included. So let's see. So hotel accommodation is merchants in this category include hotels and motels, many smaller establishments like bed and breakfast and inns, but it also gives some examples of purchases that won't count. So hotels booked through travel agencies, discount travel sites, vacation clubs, tour operators, and things like that. So that's probably going to be your best bet for finding out what will be bonused on your card. I'm assuming it's a Sapphire Reserve, but it might be Sapphire Reserve for Business, might be Sapphire Preferred or something like that. But yeah, that's the case for all Chase cards, not just your specific card. So that should tell you what you need.
All right, great. This one is for everyone, and we're going to start with Greg. Are you a nervous flyer?
Not at all.
Nick?
Not even a little bit, but I travel with a nervous flyer, so I can sympathize.
Tim?
Kind of. I was never a nervous flyer, and then when I was in college, I was flying from LA to Beijing, one of the first international. It was on the first flight that I took after 9/11. It was like 2 weeks after 9/11. And somewhere over the Aleutian Islands, we hit one of these weird air pocket turbulences
No.
where there was like three pronounced drops that seemed to last several seconds each, but it was like
Oof.
all of a sudden just dropping and boom, dropping, dropping. So it was probably like, 80 or 90 feet or something like that. But it
Whoa.
felt, like masks came down and people were,
Wow.
had injuries that were standing up and all that sort of stuff. And they never said anything about it.
Whoa.
Captain never got up to say,
Wow.
well, so you might have noticed there was this silence.
Wow.
And for a long time after that, whenever I had, especially over oceans, whenever I had turbulence, and it still can kind of sometimes get me, but like pronounced turbulence, like, oh, geez, are we going to have another one of those again? But luckily that seems to minimize when I'm lying down. So most of but for whatever reason, it's not. And I think it's probably because of the way that like your inner ear perceives drops.
Yeah.
But turbulence is never as bad if I'm lying down as it is when I'm sitting up.
Maybe it's the wine.
Yeah.
It's the
or it could be the wine. I'm not sure.
Dom
Yeah.
It could be too that maybe the pilot didn't come on to explain what happened because he was passed out. He or she.
Yeah. No, the pilot had hit his head on the. Yeah.
Oh man, that's intense. Stephen, how about you? Nervous flyer at all?
I'm thankfully not a nervous flyer at all. Basically, pretty much I'll sit down in my seat, like even if I'm flying in economy, I'll have my music on and then I'll be asleep before the plane even takes off. So
Wow.
so fortunate that I don't get nervous about that, but my wife is a very nervous flyer. And so she has Valium that she's managed to get prescribed, which helps like tame some of that, but she still does get super nervous. She has had like panic attacks on
Mm.
flights before. So when that happens, like she's asked like a flight attendant to come over and like talk to her, and they're usually like a lot of them are really accustomed to people who are nervous flying, and they do a really good job of like helping calm her down and things.
Mm.
And she
Nice.
has an app that she uses that she listens to that's specifically for nervous flyers, and so I think it like takes you through some meditations, gives you information about kind of what's happening with turbulence and things like that. So those are all kind of
It's fun.
techniques that she uses, and it's not ideal, but she just still loves to travel, and so she like sucks it up basically and still makes herself fly because she wants to be able to go to places and experience things. And then some airlines also provide courses and things like that that
Mm.
take you through
Cool.
like turbulence awareness. I think Virgin Atlantic has one. I want to say that one of the US based airlines does that. I forget which one. But it could like I'm assuming this is being asked by someone who is a nervous flyer. And so if that is the case for you, it might be worth looking into that because I've heard good things about those courses.
Hmm.
My wife hasn't had a chance to do one yet, but they're going to be super helpful just in terms of helping you understand the logic behind why there's turbulence and that it is like pretty safe basically overall, unless you hit a big pocket of turbulence and you're standing up at the time. But
Right.
for the most part, you're going to be perfectly fine if you hit some rough air. But yeah, those are just some things that might hopefully help.
Yeah, that's helpful. All right, this is another everyone, but kind of a yes, no. Greg, have you ever thought about visiting every single country in the world using points and miles as much as possible?
Um, Not really. I mean, I have friends who do that, and so it crosses my mind. But when I think about, the reality of it, it doesn't appeal to me. A lot of their trips seem um, like adventures, but not in a fun way. Like in order to accomplish what they need to accomplish, and I'd rather go and enjoy myself. So it's more about going to places I want to go than trying to check off a list for me.
Nick, how about you?
Yeah, same. I want to go to places that I want to go to, not to check them off of a list. Now I say that, and I don't want to make it sound as though I think that that's not something that's valuable and enjoyable too. I mean, it is. I remember one time somebody asking on a deal on slick deals or something why anyone would spend so much on whatever it was, and I said, different people collect different things, different people value different. Some people like a fancy car. Some people collect watches. Some people like,
Mhm.
and who am I to say which things are valuable or you should want and not want? So for me, yeah, I don't like counting or checking off a list of places I've been is not necessarily important to me. I do count every now and then and look at how many places I've been to, but I'm not actively trying to do that. So I'd rather pick places that I'm either A, I'm interested in going to, or B, I'm much more motivated by a great deal. So if somebody offered like 30,000 miles for business class to fly halfway around the world, I'm much more likely to say, well, what is there to see in that destination? And is there something interesting because it's a great deal? That motivates me more. But I could totally see where some people are like, you know what, I want to see as much of this planet as I possibly could using the miles that I have. That's not my goal, but I think that that's an interesting goal.
Yeah. Let me just add one more thing. For those who are interested, there's a Facebook group called Every Passport Stamp. And that would be a great one if you're interested in doing this or just curious about doing this. Join that group and learn from people who are doing it or have done it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll say I'm a member of that group, and I love being in that group just to read the stories from people who go to
Yeah.
places that I have never even considered, and I love reading those stories about what it's like and seeing the pictures and everything else. So I find it really enjoyable and interesting, even when it's places that I don't imagine I'll ever visit myself. I think that group's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Tim, how about you?
I have a three-word answer. All the time.
So Tim's on the opposite end of the spectrum. You
Oh
you
yeah,
would like
100%.
to see every country.
And what I would say is, I'm just endlessly. I have rarely been to a place of the world that isn't interesting in
Yeah,
some way.
that's a good point.
And I think one of the, and I am a collector, first of all. So let me just say that straight off. Like getting a set is such an appealing solve to something in my psyche. But what I have been on for the last probably 20 years or so is I've been on a quest to visit every unit in the national park system, not just
Mm,
every national park, but every actual unit in the national park system, of which there
mm,
are like right around 400 and between 440 and 450, I believe right now, or 430, 440, but it's a lot. And one thing that I think has been fun about that is I've been to a lot of places that I would have never known to seek out.
mm-hmm.
But
Mhm.
then once I was there,
Right.
found it like, oh, that's really cool. And I've learned so much and been exposed to so much that I would never have been exposed to had I just, gone to Yellowstone, Grand Canyon, Yosemite, the big national parks that everybody goes to, which are worth going to, don't get me wrong. But I think there's something, and in just traveling the world in general, there's been a lot of places, times where I haven't thought to go somewhere, but then I ended up there, and I'm like, this is fascinating for whatever reason, or it was rich for some reason that or another. So I think that's what sort of has me. Those two things combined have me. Now, will I do it? I mean, probably not. There's that takes a significant time commitment and a spouse that travels as much as I would like to. However, am I tempted by it? Absolutely.
Yeah. Stephen, how about you?
In theory, I would love to do it, but yeah, in reality, I don't think it's going to happen. And there is just so much of the world to see. But even if you get to every single country in the world, there's still so much of each country that you're not going to see. Like we went on a 7 year road trip and visited all 50 states, but there is still so much of the
Mm,
US that we never got to. Like we never got to Death Valley, we never got to Yosemite, and like those are like two like major national parks that we just didn't have a chance to get to. And so, yeah, there's like so many places around the world that even if we visited every single country, it would still feel like, well, we haven't really visited every single country because we've only been to like this one city or this one town in any given country. And so you haven't necessarily gotten a full flavor. So for me, I would love to like see much more of the world and see every single country, but it's not as much of a priority, I don't think, to just simply like tick it off the list for that reason, just because there's like you could travel like full time, like move every single day of your life and still not see everything. So, for me, it's no point stressing about it, but just try and enjoy traveling and seeing everything that you do want to see rather than kind of forcing yourself to go somewhere that you don't necessarily have any interest in.
mm. Yeah,
How
just
about
for
you,
the
Carrie?
list. Drew and I fully intended to, when we first started our blog and started traveling, we intended to try to see every country. And for years we would say, well, we want to go everywhere. Um, but we hit that pretty hard and other interests started taking precedence. And now instead, if we have a gap of time where we might be traveling, we are still more inclined to go somewhere new instead of revisit somewhere again. But I think we've kind of let go of the idea of seeing every country for another. You start to recognize these patterns, and so like you start to very quickly go like, oh, well, this Balkan place reminds me a lot of this other Balkan place, or even like this agricultural community reminds me of this agricultural community over here. You start to kind of see patterns, which is very cool. But then you also start to feel like, well, I maybe don't need to see like the fifth, like, I don't know, version of that kind of geography or, anyway, but we are still inclined to go somewhere new, kind of. I mean, not I mean, India's massive, and so right now that's like kind of something we both share sort of interest in that to Stephen's point, you could go to India many times and still be missing these huge geographical, opposites. Um, so I don't know. It's changed a little bit. We're not ticking off the list like we were, but I do still keep a list. So I'm a little bit of a list keeper like Tim. So I do have a list somewhere. All right. I think that was an everyone. So we're gonna go to Greg for this one. Do you have insight on what Sapphire status gives with Alaska when someone flying with Alaska or other oneworld, when someone is flying with Alaska or another oneworld partner?
Not sure what they're getting at there. Tim, do you want to take this one?
Well, I think I think what they're saying is if you have one world status from Alaska, which would be Atmos Gold, it would be Atmos Gold. Um, what benefits would you get from that when
Okay.
flying with Alaska or with another partner? That's what I understand it to be. And with
Right.
Alaska, you would get more benefits from your Alaska Gold status than from being one world. One world really wouldn't come into it. So what's one world benefits, I guess? Or what kind of benefits?
So actually, since you know it, why don't you explain the difference between what are the high level benefits you get with when flying Alaska because
Well,
you're a gold with Alaska versus with others?
so for Sapphire, pretty much and it depends a lot based on the partner. Different partners have they have different interpretations of the one world Sapphire benefits. But the big ones aren't really that big, or the main ones aren't really that big. Like you'll get like priority check-in and priority boarding, and you'll probably get an extra baggage allowance. Um, for me, to my mind, the most important one is you get access to one world business class lounges. But the problem is that's not going to apply to AA flights because AA and both AA and Alaska have a rule about you can only get access to their domestic lounges when you are a Sapphire member from an international airline as opposed to a domestic airline. You'll only get business class lounge benefits when you're on an international flight in another country. And that can actually be really valuable. I mean, like there's some really nice business. I mean, most of the business class lounges you're going to come across internationally are going to be nicer than the business class lounges you come across in domestically anyway. But if you don't fly internationally a lot, you're not going to really get much. Um, so, probably, and rather than go through the whole list of them, Alaska Gold, though, you're going to get some good benefits. You're going to get extra miles when you fly. You're going to get, they just changed this. I want to say it's like you still get free changes, so you can change any flight without having to pay any sort of change penalty. You get upgrades day of departure, although there's a lot of people above you, so you're not only probably going to get those upgrades on like the first class on shorter flights. However, you will get upgrades to premium class fairly often as a gold. You get a chocolate. They'll give you a little piece of chocolate if you don't get upgraded. I mean, come on, who doesn't like that? And then there's also some benefits. The benefits when you're flying AA are actually better than other One World partners. And I'd have to look and see what those are off the top of my head. But you can go on the Alaska site and actually look and see. It'll list all the benefits that you have with AA, but you actually get better boarding, upgrade priority, all those sorts of things. And I legitimately have gotten AA upgrades when flying on my Alaska number, even though I'm a higher than gold. But it can be a useful status domestically, both with AA and Alaska. But it's not going to be your one world status that gets you there. It's going to be your Alaska Gold status.
I'm gonna debate you a little bit on that. You said, the things like priority boarding and check-in and whatnot, you kind of glossed over. But I think that for somebody who flies American out of a major airport, that priority check-in can be a nice benefit. Now you can get that with One World Ruby. You don't actually, so Atmos Silver would get you that too. It'd get you the business class check-in. But I mean, we dodged a huge line at some point. I can't even remember where, but in recent memory, by being able to use that priority check-in benefit and the additional baggage benefit. Also, Sapphire and above get preferred seating, and that extends on most One World airlines. Like Tim said, it's going to vary a little bit from one to another, but One World Ruby doesn't. So, for instance, I recently flew on Iberia in economy with that great sale that they've had between North America and Europe a couple of times. And as an American Airlines Gold member, One World Ruby, I did not get free seat selection, but if I had had One World Sapphire, my understanding was that I would have gotten free seat selection even on that the like basically super cheap, but basic economy type of award. And the additional baggage allowance with most airlines at Sapphire, you get one additional bag, whereas at Ruby, you don't. And that's come into play for us on our recent trip as well, where we thought we could have used an additional bag, but didn't have oneworld Sapphire status.
Yeah,
Any
I was going to
and that's
mention
all.
I was going to
That's
mention
all.
the
That's
seats.
go ahead.
I was just going to say, I was going to mention the seat selection as well, because I've got temporary American Airlines Platinum Post status. And so that means that we have been able to get seat selection, and we have like at least 6 upcoming flights with British Airways. And on each of them, I was able to, like, we booked them with Avios, but I added my American Airlines number afterwards. I'm using BA's online chat feature, and that meant that I could select seats for both myself and my wife for those flights, because if I waited until close to the time, we won't have the status anymore, because it's due to run out, I think, in like early January or something like that. And so it's just been nice to be able to do that without having to pay a fortune to British Airways, or having to wait until check-in to hope that there's like some seats that we can get together. So that has been pretty valuable for us.
right. Any
Yeah,
counterpoints?
and so my point and let me just I think those are great. You guys obviously have more experience with Sapphire and Ruby on international flights. But the only thing that I would add as an asterisk to that is with American, the point is that you get better benefits as an Alaska Gold than you would as a One World Sapphire. So like, don't just look at your Sapphire benefits and assume that those are the same as American, because Alaska and American actually have a different relationship. So you get better treatment outside of not being able to get to their business class lounges than a World Sapphire would in terms of upgrades, and priority, all that sort of stuff.
Great point. Great point.
All right. Well, we're going to stay in the realm of status, but we're going to circle back to Greg, since that was basically a Tim question in the end. Greg, what would you value more, achieving Bilt Platinum status or ATMOS Gold status? And then this
Um,
person clarifies their situation. They live in Charlotte, an AA hub, but answer for yourself first.
Well, first I want to explain the question, because I think what motivates this question is the fact that you can pay rent with Bilt. You could either use your Alaska card, pay a 3% fee, and earn 3 points per dollar, and the spend towards that rent will earn Alaska Atmos qualifying miles. Either one for every $2 or one for every $3, depending which Alaska card you use. Or you could use your Bilt card, and the spend on the Bilt card will get you towards, well, actually, the points earned will get you towards Bilt Elite status. So I'm assuming that's what's behind this, is the decision of how to pay their rent, with Alaska card or with a Bilt card. Because I don't know why else you would be comparing these two. Because to me, the value of these two are statuses are so different. With Bilt can be super valuable having platinum status, mainly because you then often qualify for 100% transfer bonuses when they do those rent day transfer bonus promotions. It's not every time that platinum gives you the 100%, but often. And so if you're gonna do one of those transfer bonuses, it could mean a lot more miles in whatever the target transfer is. So it's more of a transactional benefit than if you get Atmos Gold status and you fly AA a lot because you're at an American Airlines hub, you're gonna be able to use the elite benefits that these guys were just talking about. That Alaska and AA have reciprocal elite benefits, and so you might be able to get some upgrades and things. Although flying from the hub, you might not see too many upgrades, but you'll at least be able to pick, preferred seating and things like that. So it kind of depends, just whether you want a more elite experience when flying, or if you want more valuable rewards.
Yeah. All right, Nick, this one is for you and relates to the coffee break. Aloha. In yesterday's coffee break, you spoke about the great deals you found. How do you find when a great sweet spot becomes available? Are you setting alerts for 20 plus locations, scouring every day?
Okay, well, that's a good question. So, how do you find when a great sweet spot becomes available? In terms of awards, yes, I do set a number of award alerts. I don't set them for a wide range of things. I set them for the trips that I'm interested in taking. Although I have thought about just setting alerts on routes that would be popular, that would be helpful for readers to let them know. But I do have a range of award alerts with the various award alert tools. Just got one actually a few hours ago for a hotel that I was hoping would open up, and I was like, man, these tools are so useful because I still do somewhat obsessively search, but not nearly as much as I used to. And it takes a lot of the mental load off in terms of like having to remember to keep searching for something when you can set an award alert tool to do the heavy lifting for you and just send you an email or a text message when it finds something. That's I don't know, I find that to be really beneficial. So yes, I do set alerts for sweet spots. Now, is it 20 plus locations? No, it's the places that I'm interested in booking a trip to, or I'll book half the trip and then I need the other half. I'll book the maybe the return and I need to find an outbound. And so I'll set alerts for that. And I do set them from a number of locations. I live in the Northeast, so if I'm setting flight alerts, it's usually from JFK, Newark, Boston, and Washington, D.C. at least, because those are all easy to either drive to or fly to DC. Every now and then I'll throw in Philadelphia, but I rarely find anything useful out of Philadelphia, so I don't tend to always include that. So I do kind of scattershot pick a number of different airports to search from, and then normally I'm more focused on where I'm going to, but I guess that could vary. And then I use sites like, when you're talking about deals, like we talked a little bit about stacking deals on things. And so I'll use sites like Slick Deals to look around and see what's on sale and what deals are out there. And I like to read through the comments, and that's true whether I'm looking at the comments on Slick Deals or on a blog post. When somebody writes about a deal, I'm frequently looking through the comments for reader experience because oftentimes people will find other things that stack. Very recent example is I saw in the Miles Talk Facebook group that there was a new cruise matching opportunity with Norwegian cruise lines, and I haven't cruised with Norwegian yet. I've been kind of interested in checking it out. I hear it's more family friendly, and so I was reading through comments there, and I decided to submit for the match, and then I saw people talking about, oh, for a short period of time they had this like cruise first thing where you deposit $250 and you get $500 worth of credit. So essentially it was another $250 off the taxes and fees you had to pay. And then I saw a couple other comments pop up the other day saying, oh, for Cyber Monday, they were doing free prepaid gratuities and kids sail free on some sailings. And so by continuing to monitor the comments, even though people were commenting with different pieces of the story, that helped me put together the whole story and say, oh, wow, okay. So the kids can be free. The gratuities can be free. I can save another $250. Now this starts to look a little bit more appealing. Maybe I ought to go after this. And so I did end up booking one. So anyway, that's, I guess, the answer to the question as best I can.
All right. Um, Tim, now that the Turkish sweet spot to Hawaii has died, are there any other sweet spots worth seeking out in the Turkish program?
Well, so Nick quite literally wrote the post on this. So I'm going to start
Captain
out by
Nick.
saying that the ones that I am aware of straight off the bat are US to Istanbul for 65,000 miles and smiles miles in business class. Um, and then also, I believe, and actually I need to check this out. I'm writing the post on this for tomorrow, but I need to check. I don't believe that Turkish devalued their um, domestic flights for Canada. And you can actually get some really good values because Canada's a big country. There's some really expensive flights to remote locations, and you can get some good values by using Turkish to book those flights. So I think that the devaluation was just for US flights, but I need to actually look into that more. But those are the only two that I can think of off the top of my head.
Off the top of
You
your
could read
beak.
Nick's post, or Nick could tell us if he knows of any right now.
I, yeah, I have not looked into the details of the devaluation beyond the domestic United flights. I read that much, and I haven't gotten further into it yet. So I don't know if the North America to North America has changed much. Also, flying North America to South America was not a bad deal. It was a better deal, South America to South America, and as I recall, some places in the Caribbean code as part of South America, so you can get some good deals there for business class to South America. Though you're not going to fly many fancy products on that. You could do it for relatively few miles, but otherwise, the U.S. to Istanbul is really the best thing I think left with that program. So that's what I would be looking at. And they do run sales from time to time. They'll run like 50% off from certain cities. Oftentimes it's only economy, but every now and then they'll run a good sale in business class as well. So it might be worth following their Instagram because they tend to announce that on Instagram for some reason when they run those things. So that'd be my other tip.
All right. I think this is a good question for Stephen. Stephen, how long is too long to spend comparing hotels on websites like flyertalk or reading reviews?
Personally, I'd say more than a few minutes. So I used to spend way too much time looking for the best hotel deals. So trying to find the best deal, whether it's with points or with cash, and things like that. But in terms of like checking out reviews and checking out what the hotel's actually like, unless you're trying to find a property that has a particular feature or you're planning for some kind of special occasion, like it's your 25th wedding anniversary or something like that, and you need it to be super special. And so you want to look at reviews of properties and see how they will accommodate requests for like special things on your special day and things like that. I wouldn't worry about it too much at all. I mean, I do double check on like hotels.com and TripAdvisor and like Google reviews just to get a general idea of the overall rating. But provided it's like 7.5 out of 10 upwards, I don't look at reviews anything beyond that just because you're always going to get people who like have bad reviews, and so you'll end up seeing like one really terrible review and it might put you off the property, but like who knows how real that is, or that might have just been an isolated incident and things like that. So I don't focus too much on that kind of thing and just focus more on like pricing and location and other features that we may be interested in. Reviews, nah, not really.
All right.
So
I'm
I
curious.
want to do a follow-up really quickly
Mhm.
because what did you say your floor rating
Yeah,
was?
I had the
And
same
I, and
question.
Seven.
I
I almost
and
jumped in with it.
this is an all play, I think. This is an
Okay.
opportunity for an all play. What's your floor rating?
Okay, so mine
You
is
said
seven and a
seven.
half out of 10. So
Wow.
basically, like, I mean, traveling all around the US and living in hotels for 7 years, provided it had a rating that was like that, then we didn't, like, we did have like one or two bad experiences in hotels, but those were ones that were like rated like 8 or 9 or something like that. So, but
How about out of
I
five
can't think of
when it's an
any
out of
time
five
where,
scale?
I'm sorry?
When it's out of five, how many? Like where do you fall? Like is it 3.5, 4.1? Like what's your out of five? What's your floor
Oh, out
level?
of five, anything like probably like 3.6 or something like that, because like 3.5 out of 5 usually means there's the potential for being a little bit dodgy, because that's like 7 out of 10.
But once you get
um
to 3.6, then
yeah.
it's all set.
But 3.6 is like 7.2, so that's like fairly close. Like so maybe it's like 3.6 3 or something like that, and so then you're bumping up, like rounding up to 7.5 rather than 7. So
I do think it's relevant that you're kind of gauging from your recent history of living out of hotels because I'm imagining Tim and Nick, you're surprised because you're looking for higher stars, I'm guessing.
So
Whereas I relate to Steven that like
yeah.
if you're trying to fill in 365 nights,
Okay.
you're
Well,
not
I
gonna do that at nine
and
stars.
that's the thing. It also completely depends on what we're like doing. If we're going away for like a really special occasion or something like that, I probably wouldn't choose like a 7.5 hotel or something like that. If we're just looking for somewhere to stay for a couple of days and it has a decent enough location, and the reviews say that okay, the service isn't great, but the rooms are clean and the breakfast is perfectly fine, I'm happy enough to like book that if it puts us in a convenient location or something like that. I have no qualms about that kind of thing.
So I'm
So what I
curious.
just want to, for people who are listening to this and haven't seen, when Steven said 3.5, Greg visibly recoiled and actually backed away from the screen.
I saw that.
So I
I
want
saw
Greg to
that.
answer that question.
I'm curious. So I want to know who has the highest floor and who spends the most amount of time comparing hotel reviews before they book. I have a guess in my head.
Yeah, I mean, I think we got a hint from what Tim just described. I mean, I start off looking. I usually filter to out of five, like 4.5 or higher, as like my starting point, and I only drop down lower if there's really like no good options up in that range. And then once I find ones, hotels that I think look good. I then do read, I sort by most recent reviews because I don't want to see reviews from 2 years ago that are about stuff that doesn't matter now, but look at most recent reviews and I just kind of skim through them. And usually, like if it's a good hotel, usually the one-star ones are about something that is immaterial to me. It's like I book through some site called,
Scams for you.
happyhotel.com and when I got to the desk they didn't have my reservation and like why are you reviewing this hotel badly when it was that website anyway. You see things like that or you see people complaining about something that happened at the bar that is not good but not going to affect your stay probably. So yeah, that's kind of how I go about it.
But how long do you spend?
I mean not probably half an hour.
All
Not that
right.
long.
Nick, what's your score floor? This will be our last question. Score floor and your amount of time, average amount of time.
So if it's out of 5, I get nervous. Anything like at 4.1, I'm like, what are these? What are the complaints? Like
Hmm.
I want to know what are the complaints? Are they those things that Greg just the ridiculous complaints that clearly will have, or maybe not ridiculous, but will clearly not come into play or matter for me? Or are they that the room was dirty, that they saw
Hmm.
bed bugs, that things weren't
But
well
if the
maintained?
room's dirty, is it really going to get an 8.1 rating? Like to me, like if the room's
Well,
like really that dirty that consistently, it's going to be like a 6 or below. So
well, I don't know because I don't read many of the 6 or belows, but but yeah, I'm like a 4.1 is probably about my out of 5 floor, and out of 10, I rarely dip below 9, which I know like 4.1 would be like an 8.2. I mean, if I'm in the eights, that only for a one night stay usually, and then again, I'm looking to see what are the complaints about it. Is it the service at the front desk isn't very good? Well, I'm only going to be there one night. That doesn't matter to me.
Hmm.
Is it that, that there was some issue regarding safety or cleanliness that is going to bother me or my wife or whatever else? Then, okay, then I might be concerned. But yeah, so I'm probably 4.1 out of 5. And out of 10, I mean, 8.5, I'd be okay. When you start getting below 8.5, again, I need to kind of look more closely at what the complaints are. I think those are my
yeah,
numbers.
yeah,
What's
you don't want to be slumming it in an 8.3 or something like that. That would just be too much.
well, then I gotta wonder what are the complaints that are drawing this place down? Like what are people upset about that's dropping it down? And that's I guess where I look at it. I don't really even care about the positive reviews in general, and I don't spend that much time to answer that part of the question. Not much time at all. Like if it's over a 9 and it's the hotel I want to that makes sense because it's an award stay that's available and it's located where I need it to be located and it's a 9, good, that's it. Like I'm done. I don't do a ton of research in terms of which hotel for most stays.
All right, Tim, how about you?
So, and I actually have some. I have some. Here. I have a couple. I have a couple stories that are sort of the version of me flying over the ocean and suddenly like falling to my perceived death. And they were both on 7.5 to 8
See,
scores because
see, see.
I used to when I first started traveling for work, I was so budget oriented. The idea, I worked for a small family company, and the idea that I would spend any more than absolutely necessary to travel on their behalf was, and they actually, and I come to find out later, they didn't care. But I mean, literally to the point that like I've had multiple hotel stays where I was literally ironing my shirt for the day in the laundry room with the laundry people. Like that's what I was that's what I was doing to like get my work done. But that ended when back to back I was in a hotel in Boise that had a 7.8 on hotels.com or whatever I was using to book at the time. And I walk in, there's a hole in the door. It smells like cigarette smoke, and there's leopard print underwear in the dresser.
What if
That
it
should
hadn't been
definitely
That's
make
leopard
the
it
print?
review I'm
PG
looking
at
for right
least.
there.
So
That's the one I'm looking
I
for.
then
Is the
tried
leopard print
Complimentary
really relevant here?
clothing? Like, why would you
tried
not
to
score it
leave
higher?
this. I tried to leave this review on both hotels.com and TripAdvisor, and neither of them would let me post the review because they said it violated their terms.
Hmm.
Then a week later, I'm in Wichita. I get bed bugs. The only time I've
Oof.
ever gotten
Mm.
bed bugs in my life was from a 7.7 hotel on, once again, hotels.com or booking.com. I remember what I was using. And I'm like, so if there's one thing people need to know, it's that you can get bed bugs at this place. And they wouldn't let me post the review. I submitted the
Wow.
review and they wouldn't let me post it.
Whoa.
So that gave me a whole new, like, if you can't keep it above 8.5, I don't know. Like I'm
There's
just
a
like,
reason. There's a reason, right? Like
yeah. So
there's a
for me, this is
consistent
sort of like
reason.
Nick and yeah. And and to Steven's point, if I was having to spend 365 days a year on the road, those might be different standards. I don't, and so those aren't my standards.
Hmm.
I would
Right.
better safe than sorry.
I don't know. I sort of relate to Steven's scoring a little bit more. I usually, four and above is good. But I'll search the reviews for Wi-Fi. That's the only thing
Mm.
I'm really
Mm.
looking for.
That is a good point. That is like one of the things I like, particularly with Airbnbs as well. I have specifically checked
Yeah.
the reviews for comments on Wi-Fi because that has been a big thing, like trying to work on the road.
Yeah. But Steven, you have any more rebuttals here?
Yeah, well, I was just curious. So for the guys who wouldn't deign to find themselves in a hotel below like at the very bottom end, like 8.8 or 9, think of like all the bottom line reviews for hotels that you've written for the site. Would you have given all of those a 9 or a 10 rating? And if you wouldn't, would you still be willing to stay at those ones again?
Mm,
Just because really you would have rated them lower, but like it sounds like you wouldn't have actually stayed there again when in reality you might have.
I think
mm,
there are a few that I would rate less than 9 that I would stay at again.
mm.
Yeah, I think there are some that I've been disappointed in, but yeah, I think few that I've rated less than 9 where I would pick that again. And I think for me, it's like what Tim was saying there. It's like it's a consistency. If they're consistently not getting 9s, then there's a reason they're not, and then I want to know what that reason is, and maybe I can't find that in the reviews, and I'm not going to spend a ton of time pouring through them. So that's where I use sort of the numbers. I'm like, all right, people are consistently like, yeah, that was a 7, so I'm going to look for something else. But yeah, I don't know. I think that's my answer to you though. Most places that I've been happy with, I probably would have given a 9, and the places that I would not have given a 9 to, I would probably not return to.
Tim, same?
Pretty much. I mean, I think, and part of it is again going back to, it would be different if I was in Steven's position and
Yeah,
spending
yeah,
that he bet,
agree.
and I was spending and I need to make my points last and my dollars last for 365 hotel nights a year, and it's not my company that's paying for it, it's me. I would probably, and I'm going across the US, and so, I'm in like Paducah, Kentucky or whatever.
Residence
Um,
in.
yeah. But so there's like, so for all of those, I could see that being slightly different. And there's times where, I've been in some remote place where the option is the option and you stay at the option. And that's fine. Like I mean, when I was,
Iguazu Falls.
yeah, I mean, back in the, right, back in the day, like, I used to, but speaking of 7.6, Perry Yoder, look at the TripAdvisor reviews for that place and then tell me you want to go back there.
I'd go back
But in
there.
terms of Steven's question, yeah, I would kind of tend to agree with Nick. Like most of the hotels, and it's a little trickier for us because we effectively have three scores. It's thumbs up, thumbs down, one thumb up, one thumb down. But there's so many fish in the sea, like why would I go back to a place that wasn't really good? I just don't. I got enough points. There's enough hotels in most places that if it's the location, unless it is the only fish in the sea, or there's only so many options in a given area, and this is really good from a location perspective.
Mm.
Like why?
Yeah.
So
Also,
how
it's
about you,
it's not
Corey?
about how one person rates it. For me, it's about how the crowd is rating it in general, like Nick said about the consistency. So, I actually, if I'm going to read in-depth reviews, it's the ones I like to look at are recent ones that give it not a perfect score, but give it like, 3 out of 5 or 4 out of 5, somewhere around there. And those reviews often have a lot of detail about, what was good and what was not good. And then I could decide for myself, do I like the things that are good, and do I care or not about the things
Yeah.
that were bad? And those are the most helpful. And that's where I think our own reviews, when they're negative, that they're where they're both, there's negatives, but we would go back. It's that sort of thing. It's like, well, yeah, the this or that wasn't good, but um, that's not enough to affect whether I'm going to love the stay or not, or whether I'm going to like it enough to stay there again, because of how I prioritize that thing that wasn't good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's a
Does that
great
make
point.
sense?
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. There's a hotel I'm going to stay at that we're coming up where I just came to mind. I was like, oh no, I would give that less than a 9, and I am going to stay there, but
Mm-hmm.
because it meets the other things that I need for that
Mm.
situation. So
Yep.
yeah, I think that was a great way to explain that.
Yeah.
So,
It
so Stephen
seemed
and Carrie, you guys have lower. Would you go back to the Golden Suites, Iguazu Falls, that
totally.
we stayed at that had like
Yeah.
because you were the biggest complainers on that one. You were like
No, okay. I mean,
That's
we,
because
we
you
were
were
like
That's a
our
I
tough
think I
made fun
really
of
game
the
get
here.
grilled
lights,
and
but no, like it was perfectly fine. It was clean. It was like comfortable enough. Like from what I can remember, it included breakfast and stuff. So I would have
Yeah.
no issues staying there again. It wasn't like it was a bad hotel or anything like that. So.
We were incentivized to complain because you were our competitors.
oh, I see how it is.
It was gameplay.
But no, I would definitely go back because there's so many reasons that a stay is sometimes just about practicality and not the vacation itself. Sometimes the
Hmm.
stay is the vacation, and then I want it to be rated higher. Sometimes the stay gets me to my vacation, and then I kind of don't care. And that one put us exactly where we needed to be. So, I mean, who cares? The I don't need lights in the hallway.
That's what
At
our
least
phones are for.
at least 2 out of 5 frequent miler team members care.
Ironically, those of us, the two of us giving you a hard time during the stay, don't actually care. We did it for the gram. All right, we have given everybody 11 extra minutes today.
Oh,
So
wow.
after
Oh,
starting late.
well,
So
probably about 3 extra minutes after the fact that it
yeah,
took us
yeah,
so long
yeah.
to
So
actually get live.
thanks for the great conversation, everybody, and the great topics. And you can join us the first Wednesday of every month here again, live on YouTube at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. We hope to see you again next time. And thanks for joining us. Thanks for the great questions.
And wherever
That
you're watching or listening, don't forget to give us a thumbs up and subscribe. Go to frequentmiler.com/subscribe. Join our email list. Follow us on all the various social media. And we'll see you guys next time.
was a fun one.
That was
Right.
fun. All right, let's just
I think
banter about
I think
stuff
we're
like that
still
a little
live.
bit before I turn off the live
Yeah,
stream so
let's
that
Right.
we
say.
are sure everything gets recorded that it needs to be.
Yes.
So Carrie, no more profanity. Like you don't go to your normal.
Don't start profanity yet.
Yeah,
Okay,
don't
got it.
start doing your
So,
normal thing.
so next year's frequent miler challenge
Yeah,
should
every
be
country.
finding the best accommodation that's 7 or below.
Hello, yeah.
And,
That's a great
and,
idea.
and what it'll be
Greg is
is
automatically a judge.
well, no, what we should do is we all have to book the accommodation for Greg. So
And
we're
Greg has
like
to stay.
back at home. We can continue working on the site, make sure everything's
poor
running
Greg.
smoothly. But we send Greg off gallivanting around the world to the like 5.3
Love it.
Howard Johnsons and stuff
That
like
sounds
that.
a little
and
bit
just
like
see
that
how it
show
goes.
Idiot Abroad, where he gets sent to these all these
Oh,
awful
I don't
places.
think he's gonna like this
Or at
idea.
least he treats it that way. Anyway, all right, I'm gonna turn off the live stream.